The wrap of your news headlines. We'll have a full bulletin for you at 8 o'clock. For now, though, our Sunday guest author, you may know our next guest author, John Sanei, from his best-selling books, Future Next, Foresight, and What's Your Moonshot? Well, the world's renowned keynote speaker, future strategist, and best-selling author recently published a new book that invites readers to step boldly into our strange new world titled Who Do We Become? Well, John Sanei joins us now on Zoom to tell us more about his latest publication. Good morning, John. Welcome to Morning Live.
Thank you so much. Wonderful to be here. Thank you so much for having me. Excited to share the latest about my book.
I'm very interested in this book. I mean, give us an outline of what this book is about. What really inspired it?
Well, you know, we're going through the largest transformation humanity has ever gone through. And it's important for us to understand the stages of the transformation. And in the book, I've broken down the stages of this transformation into the sad, the strange, and the adventure. And we are right now as humanity going through a very sad and strange time. And I wanted to share the ideas and thoughts around this.
I mean, you just touched a little bit on it in your answer, where you divide the book into anguish, abnormal, and adventure. I mean, briefly run through those sections with us.
Sure, of course. So anguish is really about the sadness of leaving the shores of familiarity, and even sometimes having to leave our identities to evolve into this new journey ahead. We have this new strange or abnormal world of artificial intelligence, AI, really starting to build up momentum and start to take away a lot of the things that we have been educated in for the last 200 years. So if you think about what we've been educated in is analytical thinking, intelligence, knowledge, and IQ. And we're starting to see that artificial intelligence is replacing us in these aspects. So just like humanity had to evolve past the agricultural times and learn new skills in the industrial times, we will need to start learning new skills as AI starts becoming more and more intelligent, as we move into this new adventure I call the quantum age. And in this new quantum age, we have to develop something called intuition. And most people think intuition is just some hippie, lentil-eating, sandal-wearing, meditative type of thing, but really it's not. We'll have to evolve ourselves and our children to have new skills. And as we evolve through this, the biggest question we need to ask ourselves is, who do we become as we evolve into this new, strange world that we're moving into?
Now, unpack for us how you map out what you call our strange new world and the path to reframe our thinking.
So remember that when we evolved from agricultural people to industrial, the most important thing we had in agricultural times were our muscles, because we needed our muscles to work the fields for 16 hours a day. If we didn't have our bodies, we would be dead. We couldn't be able to feed ourselves. We then started to learn intelligence 200 years ago. This idea of IQ and knowledge is only 200 years old, and we've been to school, to university, and we continually educate ourselves in this involvement of IQ and knowledge. But like I mentioned, AI just in the last 3 weeks or 4 weeks has shown itself to becoming much more intelligent than we ever expected it to at such an early stage. And we even have one engineer from Google that's been fired because he claims that AI has become sentient. And we all know that that's a bad sign when an engineer exposes a big company and gets fired. So we have a very strange future ahead of us where we have almost a new type of consciousness being birthed with AI. And so we'll have to start figuring out, how do we add value in a world where technology and AI makes almost everything we access free? And this is the strangeness that we need to get our heads around, because as humanity, we don't realize that taking photos has become free. Communication has become almost free. Education has become almost free. Entertainment, music. So all these things around us is becoming almost free. So we have to add new ways into our repertoires to add value to the world. And over the next 10 years, I think we're going to be shocked, excited, in horror, curious about how this new world is going to be evolving ahead of us.
Now, you also provide a toolkit in this book. Tell us a little bit about that.
So in the future, we will need to evolve ourselves into new types of human beings. And if you think about it, agricultural needed muscles, industrial needed intelligence, the quantum will need intuition, our hearts. And so what is intuition? And I break down intuition in the book into 4 stages. 1, wisdom. And wisdom is about healing our past so we have no trauma from our memories. Because we can't be intuitive if we're still carrying trauma from our past. 2, we need to be curious and fascinated with the world, where we really bring about our uniqueness into the world. And something that's never been celebrated through the process of education or corporates around the world is our own curiosity. We've always been told to fit in, not fit out. And so this curiosity allows us to fit out. 3, imagination and awakening our ability to imagine the possible and probable futures. Again, something that's not been celebrated by education or corporations at all in any way. And 4th, experimentation. And we realize that all of our studies, all of our organizations and corporates are addicted to certainty. We never want to experiment. As much as organizations say that we must experiment, we must try new things, they don't really want that, because ultimately we are addicted to certainty, addicted to an absolute outcome, addicted to being analytical. And we start to realize that AI and technology is taking over all of that analytics, all of that intelligence. So we have to become even more human than we've ever been. We have to choose an opportunity to recalibrate and rethink our skills to become more focused on intuition and less focused on intelligence and analytics. Because if we are only focused on intelligence and analytics, we'll find our jobs becoming irrelevant and our businesses becoming disrupted.
And, you know, the book is also infused with empathy and personal anecdotes. I mean, take us through that as well.
Well, you know, when I was in Dubai when I started to see this flu from China starting to spread around the world. And so I decided to go back to Kloof in Limpopo, where my family has a farm. And when I arrived at the farm, the world shut down. I left Dubai within 2 days of the airports closing down. And the stories that I share was my own depression, my own sadness at seeing my own career being totally nullified. I went from earning an incredible income to earning no income. And that was the reality I had for 6 months. And so I share the stories of my own depression, my own trying to wrangle with what had happened to the world around us. And I want readers to understand that we're all sharing a human experience of trauma, mass trauma, where many of us have never experienced anything like this. And I want people to understand that we need to mourn courageously. We need to mourn our future memories so that we can evolve to a place of acceptance and to catalyze ourselves into becoming optimistic about a strange new world, becoming flexible when all these changes are around us. So we're not addicted to certainty, but in fact addicted to figuring out who we are and who we become through this process of evolution.
And I believe you are conducting a few launches in July. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, we've got a bunch of launches in Johannesburg and in Cape Town. The dates are going to be confirmed this week. So I'll be sharing a lot on social media and it'll be out in the press. So please join us at these launches. I'll be giving a free keynote and you can come and hear my latest research that I'm sharing with governments and organizations around the world to give people the real tools to become excited about this world that we're moving into rather than fearful.
And for you, what does this chapter in your journey mean? And particularly writing this book, given how many books you've written already, but this particular one, because you went through that depression and lockdown and everything else, you are also becoming somebody else. What lessons came with this?
You know, it's such a great question. Thank you so much for that. Look, every year I write a book. And so every year I'm trying to figure out how I can help people become more optimistic in the world. And this book really has forced me to relook at how I live my life, how I prioritize relationships, how I'm actually, in fact, fixing so many relationships around me, because I realize that time is so moving so quickly that it's most important that we prioritize the important, heartfelt things around us. So I'm sure you'll share with me that all that time in COVID got us to reestablish and reprioritize many different things. And so for me personally, relationships with my family and my friends and really adding value to the world became a huge priority. They always have been, but it really highlighted them for me. And evolving myself through the process of maturing and becoming more of a citizen of the world so I can add more value and make South Africa proud out there in the world has become a high priority for me. So I'm very much on the journey of becoming a very new version of myself.
All right, John Sanei, thank you so much for talking to us. Good luck with the launches coming up in July. And we were talking to world-renowned keynote speaker, futurist, strategist, and best-selling author John Sanei. And we're just in conversation about his new book. It's titled, Who Do We Become? All right, quick ad break. We're back after this. Stay with us.